This week we're having another look at the Mazda CX-5 Touring. If there's one thing I like about Mazda is what you see is what you get. And a little while ago that kind of started going upmarket, if that's the right word to use. And kind of all of their cars, including the SUVs, have a similar look. And that similar look starts right at the front. That grille is on almost every Mazda there is. It's even been kind of shrunk a little bit to fit on an MX-5. Behind the central M, the kind of M with wings, that's the radar dome for the advanced cruise control. And then to the side, a couple of flattened daytime running lights around the LED lights. And there's even some smart green detail which is picked up again inside. And there's even a little bit of chrome for people like me that like stuff to shine. Rather cleverly, that kind of slightly flattened look appears here in the taillights, where each taillight has been kind of flattened out a bit. Still LED, but has been flattened out a bit. This Touring is the all-wheel drive version. Manual tailgate, because this is, after all, not the super posh version. And there's nice little touches inside too, like the tabs either side to lower the 40-40-20 seats. And the floor is, let me just show you, reversible. So it's got this felt bit on one side and the rubber on the other, and there's a space saver spare underneath. And I think this is really clever. The luggage cover has this little net bit at the bottom that unrolls out of here as you raise the door, so the people inside can see backwards. Then there's inside the back. Got some smart lime stitching, and this is all artificial covering. It's vinyl and kind of an Alcantara looking fabric, but there's a nice center armrest with USB support, nice little pad for your phones and what have you, little place for maybe a tablet and some cup holders. And I've chosen to sit in this side because the driver's side's going to be a little bit back further than I would normally drive, because I've got a bit of a dodgy back. Tons of legroom here, but you can see how much further forward the front seat is. So that would make it pretty tight for anyone sitting in the back. And I'm sitting in the front now. I really like the feel, the ambience. I like these little lime highlights, and that's what I was saying was in the grille at the front. It's been picked up in the upholstery as well. And the whole thing feels really classy. It's been around for a little while. I think it's about 5 years old, but everything is soft. The tops of the doors, even the tops of the dash. The only thing that's slightly hard is the top of the heads-up display. And even this middle model has a head-up display. The dash is 3 dials, and the middle dial and the outer bits of the middle dial are LCD, and the bits on the side are just conventional dials and arrows and so forth. Now, that is a little bit behind some of the other brands, but I think you're getting what you pay for. At the next styling, no doubt it'll be all digital. Down below there's twin zone climate control with a sync button, which is nice and easy to control. It's not digital, it's not touch, it's none of that stupid stuff. The trouble is that the command center, the Mazda command center, as you can see, we're in park with the handbrake on, and this is already up on my wireless, mind you, Apple CarPlay. It's not a touch screen, and the problem is CarPlay is designed to work with a touch screen, and trying to work with this dial is maybe not as easy as you might think. So I am going to go into saved places. There we go. Luckily it came up straight away, and I'm going to start. Okie dokie. This is all-wheel drive, so you could, if you wanted, do a little light off-roading. I'm not going to pretend though that this is either a sports car or an SUV that's fully into heavy, full off-roading. It just isn't. But what it does do really well. It does have drive modes, but the drive modes are limited to normal, sport, and off-road. And if I drop it into sport, it drops the 6-speed automatic back, and when I was on the highway it dropped it back to 4th, which is quite a lot, so I'll put that back in normal. Normal is plenty. I'd like to see an 8-speed automatic. I think this car deserves it. There's been a little bit of criticism from readers in the past about the 2.5 litre engine, saying that, you know, Mazda's got some other engines that could put in, maybe a turbo or whatever, but it hasn't. But then look at the buyer. Who's the buyer? Well, the buyer is probably a family person, maybe a young couple, maybe they've got kids, or maybe it's a single and a dog or whatever. There's plenty of room in the back for a pup. Or your cat. I mean, if you walk your cat. And so it's going to do everything that's asked of it. It will do a school run, it will do the family shopping, and you can, if you want, do a tour. It's certainly comfortable on the road, it's handling these bends really nicely. The steering is sharp-ish. The brakes are progressive, so I suppose you could really say both the steering and the brakes feel easy to handle, so someone that was inexperienced could get into this car and feel comfortable. And that's something that you can't say about every car, and that's partially because this has 17-inch wheels with decent sized sidewalls, which means the ride in this car is nice and comfortable without having to make ludicrously expensive suspension alterations. One thing I did notice is that on all but the very smoothest of road surfaces, there was a little bit of road noise, which is quite unexpected. It's not intrusive, but it's just there and you do notice it. The other thing is that at speed, with so few controls here and everything being done from the command center, even doing things like changing the radio station, it's not as easy as it should be. And the voice control seems to go straight to CarPlay when you've got that plugged in. I tried changing the stations using the steering wheel controls, and I should probably have gone to favorites first. Then we talk about fuel consumption. Most of the fuel consumption has come this week from city driving. And so I reset it to come just on this little jaunt, and before that it was sitting at around 11.5 or thereabouts, and that's higher than I would expect. But it was a lot of short trips, doing what you normally do, an airport run, grocery shopping and so forth. Now, this particular trip so far is 81 kilometres, and I'll touch base with you again at the end of it, and it's at 9.6. So I've picked you up on the highway, where we're humming along now merrily at 106, so I'll just bring us up to the speed limit. Okay, I've activated the active cruise control. Now it's keeping me a set distance from the car in front. The CX-5's got most of the safety gadgets you'd expect. It's got blind spot monitor and so forth. And the blind spot monitor also shows up in the head-up display, which is about here on the windscreen. It's quite a decent size. And this is one thing I've discovered, is trying to use this infotainment system while you're driving is really, really difficult, because you've got to look down to see what these buttons are, as opposed to, say, looking up here or touching the screen. So it's one thing that I really, really don't like. Ride on the highway is absolutely lovely. I can hear just a merest hint of wind noise outside, but just a touch. And now on this smooth section of tarmac, the cabin noise is negligible. I could very easily settle into this car for a long drive. So, to round up, CX-5 Touring does what it says on the box. It is reasonably handsome, nice in corners. It's not super sporty, but then it's not a sports car. That's all for the Mazda CX-5 Touring. Not a bad price. It's a great bundle, drives well, looks nice. It's a Mazda, you get what you pay for. As always, hit like, leave a comment, just over there to subscribe.